Hi, I'm Emily and welcome back to my channel. Did you know amongst all of the materials that your Cricut can cut, it can also write for you? That's right, your Cricut doesn't just cut. You could use the Cricut pen feature on so many things, including cards, envelopes, and gift tags, just to name a few. I tragically found this out way too late when I started working with my Cricut. When I first found out that my Cricut could write, I used it to write all of my name place cards for my wedding. I also used it to write on the bags for my bachelorette party. Now I use it mostly either to write like cards or gift tags. So in today's video, I'm going to take you through Design Space and all the steps that you need to get your Cricut to write for you. You could upload whatever font that you want to use into Design Space, and then your Cricut will literally draw using that exact font. So it's amazing. Your Cricut should come with a pen. If it doesn't come with a pen, I'm gonna link below the one that I'm using. Cricut brand does sell a lot of different colors and styles of pen. They have gel pens or they have more of like a felt tip pen. I just use the felt tip pen in black. And there are certain attachments that you can buy that can fit inside the clamp, so that way it allows you to use just like regular pens. If you buy a regular pen and you don't have a special attachment for it, it won't fit in the clamp. So they are a little bit pricey, but my pen I've been using since I was planning for my wedding, and that was 2 years ago now, and I've used it quite a lot and it has lasted. It hasn't run out of ink or anything, so honestly I feel like it's worth it. I wouldn't feel bad about spending the money on your Cricut pen. So if you want to learn how to get your Cricut to write for you, keep watching and I'm gonna get right into it. So first, I want to show you a few different options of the Cricut brand pens. This is the one that I use most often. It is 0.4 millimeters. It's very fine and has a felt tip. And next, this one is also a felt tip. It's 1 millimeter in size and it is a very pretty gold color. And next, I have another gold pen, but this one is more of a ballpoint pen, and it's 0.8 millimeters. And then just to compare the two felt type pens that I have, this is the 0.4 versus the 1. You can see that there's a really big difference. So next, I want to show you how to insert the pen into your Cricut. So when you open it, you could see that there are the two clamps. Clamp B is going to be the one that houses the blade, and then clamp A is going to be the one that you're inserting your pen into. So clamp A is on the left. You're going to open the clamp and then the pen with the arrow facing toward you and just push down until you feel it click into place, and then close the clamp. Sometimes my clamp gets stuck in like the down position, so I just move it up a little bit to make sure that it is even with the other clamp, and that's how you insert the pen. Now we can move into Design Space. I already have this cute little scalloped rectangle on my canvas. I'm gonna have my Cricut cut it out just for the purposes of this project, and then I'm going to add some text. So I'm gonna add a text box. And I just want to change the font, so I'm going to go over to my bookmark fonts. These are all of the fonts that I have personally downloaded into Design Space. So I'm just looking for one that I like. I'm just going to type out this quote and then just resize it to fit inside of the rectangle. And I actually am changing the font. I don't really like this one as much. So the final font that I'm using is called Farmhouse. I'm a sucker for thin, delicate script fonts. What can I say? And as of right now, the font is still in the cut operation, so we just have to change the operation type to pen. So I'm going to select my font and then go up top to where it says operation. Click on the drop-down box and select pen. And then you could see that once the pen operation is selected, it hollows out the inside of my font. So if you were to just leave it like this, your Cricut will draw this, but it'll leave the inside of your font blank. You can fill that in by hand if you want, but I personally like to have my Cricut fill it in for me. I think it's easier. So to do that, I'm going to go up top to offset and change the offset from a positive offset, which is what it usually defaults to a negative offset. And I do kind of play around with this a little bit because each font, each design is going to be a little bit different to like exactly the number amount that you'll need to be able to fill it in. But generally it's between negative 0.005 and negative 0.025. So right now I'm going to try negative 0.005. Since this font is very delicate, I'm going to need a very, very tiny offset to be able to fill it in. So once I click apply, the blue is going to be what the offset is, and it fills it in pretty well. So I'm happy with that offset. Can't just leave it like that because the offset isn't attached to the font. I could just like move it around, it's not attached together, so we have to attach them. So I'm going to select both the text and the offset and then go down to where it says attach and click attach, and now they are attached together. They're not welded, they're not united. Previously, I don't know if Design Space had changed this recently, because I used to be able to unite the offset and the text together. Now it doesn't work. So the only way I found to be able to do this is to attach the font and the offset together. And also, I want to add a flower because this doesn't just work for fonts, you could also use it for images. So I'm going to go over to images and search for a flower outline. And it's the same exact process. Once I have a flower that I like, I'm going up top to operation and changing the operation type from cut to pen. Again, Design Space hollows out the middle of the design. So I'm just going to use the negative offset feature to fill in the middle as much as I can. This one I did have to play around with a little bit more because it's not as cohesive as like the font is. I got it pretty much all filled in. I think the only part that I would need to fill in myself is the middle where there's like a big gap, and I just didn't feel like playing around with it that much, so it's really not that big of a deal. So again, I'm attaching the offset and the image together, and now they're attached, I can move them around. But there is one last step, because if you were to leave it like this and just go up to make, even though the offset and the text and the offset and the image are attached together, I have to attach them to the rectangle so that way my Cricut will draw exactly where it needs to be, because right now you could see that even though the text and everything is attached together, without the rectangle and the text attached, my Cricut is just going to draw and then cut my rectangle out without any regard to where it's aligned. So I'm going to go back into my canvas and actually just change the color of the rectangle to white. And then, most important step, I'm selecting everything. I'm selecting the text, the picture, and my rectangle and attaching them all together. So now when I go back up to make, my Cricut is going to know to cut out my rectangle and then draw exactly where I have the text and the picture attached to my rectangle. And then if you look over on the left, it says that the operation type is pen and then also basic cut. So my Cricut is going to draw first and then it's going to cut at the end. I'm going to choose my material as light cardstock with less pressure because this is a more delicate cardstock. Just always be aware of what your material is. If you have a thicker cardstock, you may have to have slightly different settings, and every Cricut is a little bit different. So now I'm just placing my cardstock onto my Cricut mat. And using my brayer tool to make sure that it's adhered to my mat. And now it's time to load it into my Cricut. Once my Cricut is ready for the mat to be inserted, the load button is going to flash. So I'm going to click the load button and then click the cut button once my Cricut is ready to cut. Now my Cricut is going to start by drawing the outline of my font and my image first. And once my Cricut's done drawing the outline of everything, it's going to stop and the cut button is going to start flashing again. So I'm just going to press that button again and my Cricut is going to fill in everything. So first the Cricut will draw the outline and then you just have to press the button again once it's done and flashing and ready, and it'll draw the negative offset that we've attached. having the negative offset does actually make a big difference. Once my Cricut is done drawing, it's automatically going to go in and just start cutting my rectangle. And now the unload button is flashing, which means that it's all done. So I'm going to click that and unload my mat. And I'm flipping my mat upside down and removing the mat from my cardstock to prevent any kind of bending. And now I'm just taking my pen and filling in that little part in the middle that I hadn't filled in Design Space. And here it is, it's all done. It's really that simple. I think that this is one of the best features of the Cricut, because once you download whatever font that you want into Design Space, you could use that with the pen operation and use that font for whatever project you want and have your Cricut draw it for you. It's amazing. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you found it helpful, please leave a like or a comment. And if you want to see more crafting content from me, just subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell so you'll get notified when I post a new video. And if you want to follow me on my other socials, including my Etsy shop, everything is linked in the description below. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!